All right, ladies and gentlemen, buckle up for a Thirsty Thursday edition of The Sweat presented by DraftKings alongside our draft queen, Jessie Cofield. I am Emerson Lancia, and we have a smorgasbord of topics on the menu today.
Yeah, we're talking best bets and DFS plays around the NBA, NHL, college football, basketball, and the World Cup. But first, we're going to get cooking with some Thursday Night Football.
Oh, good morning to our prestigious panel consisting of DraftKings contributor Stephen Buchanan and host of the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Yeah, Ross Tucker, former Bills offensive lineman, former Patriots offensive lineman. So what does that make tonight? The Tucker Bowl, baby. Let's get after it right now. So looking at the AFC East standings, by the way, you got the Bills trying to keep up with Miami. You got the Patriots trying to work themselves back into the wild card picture. This game matters more to which side, Ross?
Well, it probably matters more to the Patriots if they're serious about trying to make a playoff run here. I mean, you look at the complexion of the AFC. They lose this game to go 6-6. It's going to be tough for them to dig out of that. Not that they can't, but it would be hard. Although I will say you can make an argument for the Bills. I mean, the Bills were the preseason Super Bowl favorite. They're 0-2 in division. They're 8-3, like you said, right there with the Dolphins, but they can't really afford to lose another division game because they need to win the division. I mean, they have serious Super Bowl aspirations, not going to get done as a wild card playing 3 road playoff games. So the answer is that it's gigantic for both. Probably a little bit more important for the Patriots just getting into the tournament. But in terms of from preconceived preseason notions, probably the Bills. So I'm not really answering that directly at all.
That's okay, because I could go to some comments made by Greg Cosell on your podcast where he said this actually is not a super talented Bills offense because we've just become so enamored with Josh Allen and they really only have one good receiver and a bunch of other guys and not a great offensive line.
Well, I appreciate you mentioning that. And yes, that has gotten a lot of attention from Bills Mafia.
Yeah.
That's blowing up on @RossTuckerPod. Twitter handle like none of the other tweets we've had in a while. And most Bills fans agree. The O-line is just kind of okay. They're trying to get a running game going, Emerson, but it's not really working. And I don't think that Gabe Davis, and Steve can talk about his stats and how he's been as a DFS performer this year, but I don't think Gabe Davis has become what people thought he would be based on that playoff game last year against the Chiefs. You know, Greg Cosell feels like they have one good receiver, really good receiver, and Diggs, obviously, and then a couple guys that are just guys, and that they put too much on Josh Allen's shoulders. I agree with him. You know, and when Josh Allen's Superman, they win. If he's anything less than Superman, it feels like they lose.
Well, I think Gabe Davis has a decent floor tonight, Steve Buchanan. My question for you is, will the Patriots force the Bills to punt tonight, something they haven't done the last 2 games against them?
No, and they're obviously a good team, too, that can get some pressure on the quarterback, and that's going to be an issue here for Josh Allen tonight. Like, you got to, mention, too, like Ross said, that offensive line has been okay. They're going to be without Deion Dawkins again. That's obviously a huge loss for there on the left side there, Josh Allen's blind side. So I think that's something that's really going to be put into play tonight. I think the Patriots are going to do whatever they can to keep the Bills' offense off the field. And I think they're going to do a lot of running game tonight to try to make that happen because the Bills really haven't been strong against the run either. So I think that's going to be something you're going to see a lot of tonight.
All right, Steve, so like in showdown contests on DraftKings, who are you going to be paying up for captain in this spot?
Yeah, going off that notion, I'm going to pay up for Stevenson here at $15,600 without Harris because Harris is out of this game. Stevenson's averaging over 15 carries per game and 6 targets per game. We've seen this 5 times already this season where either Harris has been out or Harris has left the game due to injury. I mentioned that the Bills have been pretty subpar against the run this season. Stevenson has been very efficient as a runner. I don't think he's getting enough credit for when he takes the rock and starts running the ball here, averaging over 4.5 yards per carry and 3.5 yards after contact. That ranks him 8th in the league, sandwiched between some names you might be familiar with, Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook. So he's been that good after contact when taking the rock there. I think this is going to be a great spot for Stevenson. And like I mentioned, I think the Patriots are really going to want to run the ball tonight, keep that Bills offense off the field. So I think Stevenson is your play tonight, a captain.
All right, Ross, do you see Stevenson going off tonight? And if not, who do you think is going to be the one that just goes off?
So it's really interesting, right? Because I agree with Steve that that's what the Patriots are going to try to do. But if you're the Bills, you know that. And you really can't allow them to just grind this game down and keep Allen on the sidelines and run the ball down your throat. What makes it a little more interesting to me is on Thanksgiving night, that was the best Mac Jones has played all year. Mm-hmm. I mean, he played really well. So is there a chance that the Bills load up so much for the run that the Patriots come out throwing it and one of these lower priced receivers for the Patriots, maybe the law firm that is Jacoby Myers, who knows, maybe somebody else, maybe it's Aguilar, maybe they go off and have a really big night. If you're going to go for a contrarian play, I like going for one of the Patriots receivers to have a surprisingly big night against the Bills.
Hey, Bukes, how far down the board would you go for a value play tonight?
Yeah, I like going with the Patriots defense at 3,200. I think this game doesn't have a ton of value that you can really take and feel good about here. But I mean, Josh Allen's been under pressure on 33% of his dropbacks this season. He's taken 23 sacks on the year. I mentioned that Dawkins continues to be out here, so that's obviously a hit there for their offensive line. I just think this is a spot where the Patriots defense can kind of come through here, get that pressure on Josh Allen. And at 3,200 for a defense, that's pretty low priced for this Bills team who, to their credit, has still been doing fine offensively, but we haven't really seen that accuracy from Josh Allen really since that elbow injury occurred. So if they're going to be having trouble passing the ball here and they're going to have to force the Bills to run or even Josh Allen to run here, I think 3,200 for the Patriots defense in a game that has an over-under total of 43.5. I feel like that's a pretty good play here at 3,200.
Yeah, this could definitely be that typical tight divisional results as you see a lot of in the first matchup between divisional opponents every year, no matter the division. Ross, is there a dark horse? Is there someone flying under the radar right now who you think could potentially deliver in the points department?
Well, if you want to get real dark horse with it, maybe Nyheim Hines, who has done nothing for the Bills since they traded for him. But I'm guessing they're not in the business of just trying to light a fire to draft picks. They did give up a draft pick for him. You would think they would use him at some point. And maybe the way the Patriots play it with a couple of deep safeties, not wanting Josh Allen to get any chunk plays down the field, maybe they play Nyheim Hines on a bunch of these third downs and Josh Allen checks it down to him. That's the darkest of dark horses based on what he's done so far this year. But, some of these DFS slates, if you're trying to win the whole thing, depending on, what you're playing, maybe you go for the big swing with Nyheim Hines.
Okay, yeah, cost you only $3,000 there in the flex spot tonight.
That is certainly a dark horse pick. Ross, let's make our way to the DraftKings Sportsbook. What's your favorite player prop?
I kind of like Mac Jones to have more passing yards than Josh Allen.
What?
And this is a schematic thing. Now, you can money line that, or the line at DraftKings Sportsbook is 42.5. So Josh Allen is minus 42.5. I like Mac Jones plus 42.5. The Bills are still going to try to stop the Patriots from running. Mac Jones played really well last time out. Might have a big night. The Patriots are going to play two deep safeties and try to force the Bills to run and be patient. There is a chance here where Mac Jones ends up having more passing yards than Josh Allen. And I think, especially if you get those 42.5 yards, I kind of like it. So Mac Jones for more passing yards plus 42.5 over Josh Allen.
All right, Steve, where are you going for your player prop?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Josh Allen to go over 43.5 rushing yards tonight. Feels like a really low total for something that he's absolutely been smashing, especially as of late. He's gone over that number in 4 of the last 5 Bills games, and he's averaging over 60 yards per game in that span. I mean, he's rushing a lot too, just under 8 rush attempts per game. Now, the Patriots haven't faced a lot of mobile quarterbacks. but they still have allowed over 225 rushing yards to the position. And that's why, because 70% of those rushing yards have come from two players, Justin Fields and Lamar Jackson. 189 rushing yards on 25 attempts from those two guys there. Now you're facing someone who absolutely can do the same in Josh Allen tonight. I saw this number at 43.5. I said, this is way too low, it feels like, for something that Allen has been going over consistently as of late, and really over the whole season. He's averaging more than that per game as it is already. So I love this number tonight, over 43.5 rushing yards for Allen.
Yeah, Steve, like Zach Wilson, Sam Ehlinger, Justin Fields have all led their team in rushing versus the Patriots over their last 5 games here. We'll get you guys out of here with this. Overall, looking at the big Thursday night football picture here, Bukes, what's your top overall bet for Bills-Pats?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Patriots with the points here, plus 3.5. I mentioned the Bills' defense continues to be hampered by injury here. I know they're getting Tre'Davious White back, but how much is he really going to be playing? How effective is he going to be here? But I think, like, Ross mentioned this too. Mac Jones looked good in that last game. He's going to be working with a clean pocket a lot tonight too as well. The Bills' pass rush really hasn't been all that efficient. And when Mac Jones has a clean pocket, that's when he's at his best. He's averaging over 8 yards per pass attempt with a 76% completion rate. You look at the interceptions he's thrown, 5 of the 7 that he's thrown has been when he's been under pressure. So with the idea that he's not getting a lot of pressure tonight, this is where we could see Mac Jones go well and pass down the field here. And then with Stevenson here too, I like that there in a good matchup against the Bills. So I think taking the points to the Patriots tonight, plus 3.5, I think that's the play.
Because Mac Jones had nothing but a clean pocket every game during his Alabama days. I mean, Ross, Bills 3-0-1 ATS in their last 4 trips here to New England, man. What's your bet tonight?
Don't care. I like the Patriots and the points. And this is also why you should listen to the Even Money podcast, which comes out on Tuesdays. That's our awesome betting podcast, because we all got the Patriots plus 4.5. We got a full point. That's called closing line value, a full point. Everything Steve just said is correct. In fact, he took a lot of the things I was going to say. However, we need to remember 2 things. The Bills are not playing their best football right now. It's in New England. The Patriots are a desperate team. Mac Jones coming off his best game. I think the Patriots have a great chance to win this game tonight. Even if they lose, much like the Bills win over the Lions on Thanksgiving, it feels like a field goal type game. Loved it at 4.5. Still like it at 3.5. Patriots and the points.
Yeah, Buffalo 1-3-1 ATS in its last 5 road games. Steve, you have a podcast as well. Is there anything you'd like to promote from that?
We're actually going to be recording this after the show.
Wow.
So you can check that out on wherever you get your podcast, the Unreasonable Odds podcast. Julian is actually back working. He hasn't been working for about 3 months. Decided to come back, so I guess we'll do a podcast together today.
Yeah.
All
right. Be quiet,
he's in
Emerson.
studio.
Quick wrap. You hear the producer saying
He's
quick
in
wrap.
studio.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here. Hidden Jewels is next.
Thanks, guys.
All right, let's take a look at the college football playoffs as it stands right now.
Hey, Julian.
All right.
Hey.
We We
me.
didn't
I'm working.
introduce Julian yet.
He's on
Okay?
camera.
Just relax. It's in the script, buddy. Jeez, Julian
called Hidden
Edlow's
Jewels.
here, okay? Emerson Lotzi has no patience and doesn't know how to be a professional. Okay, so the three
camera.
unbeaten teams, all right?
Yes.
You got Georgia, you got Michigan, you got TCU. USC currently ranks as the best one-loss team in the country at number 4 in the rankings. However, all 4 of these teams going to be in action this weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, well, look, Julian Edlow. Here it is.
But like we were supposed to start by showing the standings, and you don't see Jules. But when you open up and there's just a third dude sitting at the desk, we got to say, hey, this is Julian Edlow. So take us through some of your favorite bets here for college football, college basketball, NBA. We have so much to cover here, so try to be quick because
You try to be quick.
Okay, yeah. So let's start with Utah USC Pac-12 championship game Friday night in Vegas. Trojans' only loss this season came at Utah. They're gonna have a chance to get revenge as 3-point favorites. What do you think happens?
Yeah, and this is from somebody that's had Utah futures all season, cashed the win total over, cashed the play for them to make the conference championship game, and I have them in this game. This is going to be the hedge off point for me. The only thing I'm worried about the USC side is losing the running back, Utah, the more physical team, but USC's only loss was by 1 at Utah. Now they get a chance to face them again, and the way USC is clicking right now, Caleb Williams is a shoo-in for the Heisman. I think that USC is going to win this game on Friday night. This is a playoff game for USC. Win, and they are in.
Big 12 title game, K-State, TCU. How do you have this one playing out?
Yeah, TCU undefeated. They've skated by all season. They've gotten extremely fortunate in different situations based on the quarterback play they've been facing. K-State had a 28-10 lead over them. This time, this is where they get their revenge and take down TCU, the undefeated team, and then make the college football playoff committee have a decision to make. Is a one-loss TCU team good enough to get in over a one-loss Ohio State team? I think K-State's going to be the more physical team in this game.
All right, Tulane and UCF, another championship game where the two teams met in the regular season. UCF took the first W. Okay, we got an alum here. But Tulane has grown to a 4-point favorite, so how do you think the second matchup plays out? Yeah,
revenge is a theme here, and I think Tulane's just the better team. They lost that game the first time around. They had chances to win it. Now you got the conference championship game. It's in New Orleans. I think that Tulane is going to be the better team like they were the first time around, but find a way to finish this game. This one has grown from 3 to 4. So at this point, rather than lay the 4, there you go, 3.5 now, minus 115 on the juice. It's bouncing around. I don't think we'll see 3 again. So you can take that minus 180-ish money line. I would put it with like a Georgia, and then you get that down and just need Tulane to win the game. That's the way that I would prefer to play it.
Jules, Clemson, North Carolina here Saturday night in Charlotte, ACC championship game. Which team gets off the mat first after a disappointing loss on rivalry week?
Yeah, they're both coming off disappointing losses. UNC back-to-back disappointing losses ever since they've clinched the berth in this game. But Clemson lost a chance to potentially be a playoff team in that rivalry game against South Carolina. I just don't think Clemson is that good this year. Now with their motivation for the college football playoff gone, I don't know how they're going to look in this ACC title game. I'm fearful of Clemson's bodies. They have all the recruits. They're going to be more physical in the running game, and that can hurt UNC. We saw that in the Notre Dame game. But I think UNC has more motivation in this game. Anything over a touchdown, I'm going to take them there. We might even see 8. But, yeah, give me the Tar Heels with the points.
All right, let's pivot to college basketball here. Creighton and Texas, game of the night, Thursday night. Who takes this one?
Yeah, top 10 matchup. I'm a huge Creighton fan. They have everything that you need to win it all this year in that starting 5. That top 5 that they can put on the floor can compete with anyone. We saw that in Maui, getting all the way to the finish line, lost by 2 to Arizona. I have them 40-1 to win it all. This is not a spot to back Creighton. This is a really tough spot. Their first true road game against a team that a lot of analytics have number 1 in the country. We saw Texas at home smoke Gonzaga. I think that Texas is a money line parlay piece, and there's a lot of other pieces that we can touch on that you can use them with, maybe even some of the college football games. But Texas is going to win this game tonight over Creighton.
All right, let's go UCLA and Stanford here, man. Stanford 0-4 ATS in its last 4 games against winning teams.
Yeah, if you're looking for a game to play on the spread on Thursday night, I haven't played it yet. I am leaning towards Stanford. This one was 5.5. I think we're up to, what is it? It's touch 6, 6.5. Are we up to 7? I'm getting close on this one. Oh, it's 6 right now. All right, I think that we're going to see some 7s here. UCLA beat them twice last year. I'm I don't love the talent gap here, but Stanford got them twice the year before. I think true road games, the first true road games for some of these teams, we've seen them have a really tough time. Look at Baylor getting smoked at Marquette. We saw last night a lot of these home favorites win. I think that Stanford getting some points here at home could catch UCLA off guard.
All right, big one Friday night, rematch of the 2020 national title game that Baylor blew out the Zags in. What happens this time around?
I'm pumped for this game, and Baylor is in a perfect spot. They just went on the road, as I mentioned, got caught off guard, blown out badly by Marquette. Now they're going to play a neutral site game against Gonzaga, looking to bounce back. And Gonzaga is just not as good as we expected them to be. They don't have the players. Drew Timmy's good. They don't have the perimeter players, the perimeter talent that we're used to seeing them have. So they came off a win over Xavier. They easily could have lost that game. We've seen a lot of teams play with them. I think Baylor is in a really good spot to win this game. We might even be getting some points with them. So Baylor plus the points I have circled for Friday night, and probably some money line as well.
What's your favorite look-ahead spot for this weekend? You got one?
Couple of spots. My Rhode Island Rams are not good at all. Okay. Battle of the Ocean State on Saturday in Rhode Island. Providence goes to Kingston, Rhode Island. I don't like playing road favorites, but this one could be, according to analytics, like Providence -3. Providence isn't all that good either, but like URI is one of the worst shooting teams, one of the worst turnover teams. I want Providence over my Rams on Saturday.
All right, only one NBA game tonight, Mavs, Pistons. Are you looking at anything in this one?
Don't like this game, but we got to talk some NBA. The Mavericks are only 10-10. They're coming off a big win over the Warriors. Jason Tatum passed Luka Doncic last night in terms of NBA odds to win the MVP. The Mavericks need to start piling up some wins, and they're going up against a Pistons team. I know they're on the road, but the Pistons have a lot of injuries. So I mentioned a money line parlay piece with Texas. I would be surprised if Dallas didn't win this game in Detroit.
All right, heavy dose of games, though, Friday night, more than one game. Any NBA betting trends you've got your two eyes on?
The NBA betting trend right now is the Boston Celtics totals, team totals, specifically the first half. They've played 12 home games. They're 12-0 to the over on their first half team total.
Damn.
If you've been watching these games, they're consistently putting up 70-plus points in the first half at home. The last three games, they played Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday. They cashed each of their first half team totals with over 5 minutes to go in the first half. They're putting on a clinic offensively. They get the Miami Heat, again, who could not stop them on Friday night. Celtics team totals over first half is what you want to be betting right now. Lakers improved last night to 10-2 first half ATS at home on a Russell Westbrook buzzer beating 3. There's some other good ones out there. Memphis first quarter lost last night, but they have the best first quarter ATS in the NBA. So there's some really good ones. My NBA betting trends article actually debuts on the DraftKings playbook today, so we'll have that for the rest of the season. But Celtics first half team total is the one you want.
All right, thank you, Julian. Coming up next, our soccer dudes are going to break down the final day of group play in the World Cup. The Sweat will be right back. Football is live!
Indeed it is.
All right, tomorrow is the final day of group play in the 2022 World Cup, so we need our soccer dudes to help break it down for us. DK Nation's Chinmay Vaidya and RotoWire's AJ Schultz. Guys, we need your favorite bets on the GK Sportsbook.
AJ, question for you. South Korea, Portugal. What is your favorite bet in this one?
Well, considering you can get Portugal at minus 130 here on the money line, I think that's actually my favorite play. Just keep it simple here. I think they've shown they're more than just Ronaldo and company and have a pretty deep squad. And you obviously could consider Ronaldo at plus 115 as the anytime goal scorer, but I actually prefer Bruno Fernandes here at plus 240. We saw him take the penalty after Ronaldo was subbed off in the last game, so I think he's in the mix from the spot as well. But I think all three of those bets are in play for this one.
All right, Chinmay, what's the move, dude?
You know that South Korea are going to come out hard in this game. They absolutely need a win here, and they need a big win. So I actually do like the draw here at plus 310. I think Portugal might rest some players. Ronaldo might get subbed off early again. Even Bruno Fernandes might get a rest. We saw that France did that after they had already locked up a spot in the round of 16. Portugal have already qualified. So I think they might play it safe and rest their guys. That's the only worry I would have with backing Portugal in this one. And even those goal scorers that AJ mentioned, it's just hard to tell how much playing time they're going to get in this game. So I do like the draw here. South Korea coming out hard. Portugal might take it a little bit easier. Plus 310, I think, is tremendous value on the draw.
All right, Ghana, Uruguay. All right, so by beating Uruguay in their final Group H match, Ghana would advance to the round of 16, also knock Uruguay out of the tournament.
Okay.
And you know Ghana is gunning for revenge after that debacle in the 2010 World Cup. Chinmay, how are you betting this match?
Well, Luis Suarez is still there, so
Yeah.
Ghana have that fresh in their minds, and we may see some chippy tactics when it comes to Luis Suarez on the pitch. But I actually do like Uruguay in this game. I think they're going to be a lot of goals, so I think over 2.5 goals at plus 100 is a strong bet here. I think there's going to be a lot of goals from both sides. But Uruguay coming in at minus 115, I think was the latest line. I think that's solid value there, not giving up too much. And even Uruguay at minus 1.5 goals, I think if you're really backing them, which I am at coming in at around plus 200, plus 220 on the DK Sportsbook, I think that's one to go with as well. Ghana have struggled in these types of games. Uruguay tend to rise to this occasion. I'll go with the South American side here.
All right, AJ, which side are you on?
I'm on the other side in this one. Uruguay, no goals in the tournament. As Chinmay mentioned, maybe Luis Suarez gets the start here, and that should create some attacking options, though whether that's on the pitch or in terms of biting somebody again remains to be seen. But I do think you have to seriously consider Ghana in this spot at plus 380. That opening loss, one of Portugal's goals came on the penalty. So as far as open play goes, Ghana potentially would have tied Portugal and beat South Korea. I think they're a better team than even I was giving them credit for at the start. And I think they can take out an Uruguayan side that has really looked somewhat bland to start the tournament.
AJ, Cameroon and World Cup favorite Brazil, land of Giselle. What is worth betting in this one?
I actually don't hate taking Cameroon double chance here at plus 250, but I would wait to make that play until we see what sort of lineup we're going to get out of Brazil. If they shuffle things up the way France did, who made 9 substitutions before their final game, I think you could see Cameroon at least pushing for a draw, maybe getting a win the way Tunisia did. Obviously, if Brazil comes out with their normal starting 11, I think you have to find a way to back them. But if they're going to rest a bunch of guys like France, I think Cameroon double chance is definitely in play.
All right, we expecting a lot of goals here, Chinmay?
I am expecting a lot of goals here, and I'm expecting actually a lot of goals from Brazil in this one. Neymar has been ruled out for this game, but we know that this Brazilian side, from all their comments that they've given, from all the quotes that they've thrown out there, they know that Neymar is still possibly coming back, and it's looking like he's improving, and there's a slight chance that he could be in for that knockout game. So Brazil is going to leave nothing to chance here. I think they're going to come out absolutely on fire. Brazil over 2.5 goals coming in at plus 160, I think, is good value here. I really like this team proving that they're more than just a one-man show. And that's kind of what their manager has been talking about, developing this side over the last 4 years for being more than just a one-man show. A couple of my Arsenal boys should be playing in this game.
Oh.
I like both of them as anytime scorers. You're getting good value on Gabriel Jesus coming in at plus 110 and Gabriel Martinelli coming in at plus 185. So I think I'll back both of my boys and Brazil to get a lot of goals here.
Yeah, odds were minus 10,000 for Chinmay to mention Arsenal in this segment.
Obviously. Serbia versus Switzerland. Lots of implications in this one. Chinmay, what's your lean?
I think Switzerland are better built for this, better prepared for this. They've played in far bigger matches and bigger competitions than Serbia have. I think the draw is the play for me on the money line. Plus 240, I think, is really good. I think this is going to be a very low scoring game. Under 1.5 total goals comes in at plus 235. And Serbia under 0.5 goals, even after they scored 3 against Cameroon, under 0.5 comes in at plus 250. Switzerland, we've seen they have a solid defense. Even Brazil needed that late, winner from Casemiro in like the 84th minute to get that win. So I like Switzerland to completely lock down Serbia here, make this a low scoring contest and get the W or the draw.
All right, AJ, where are you going in this one?
Well, Chinmay and I finally agree on something in this segment here. I think you have to give the edge to Switzerland based on how they've performed up to this point. But I agree. I think it's going to be a relatively low-scoring affair here. Switzerland just 1 goal through the tournament, but that's all they've needed at this point. I would look at the total here. Under 2.5 comes in at minus 130, giving up a little juice there. But I think there's enough value to make it worth it. If you want a little more bang for your buck, you could go at under 1.5. I'm not sure I'm quite ready to go that far, but it wouldn't shock me to see a 1-0 Switzerland win here.
You two were absolutely phenomenal. You crushed your jobs here on the sweat, but we're going to go back over to American football coming up. We got a rematch of last year's AFC Championship game. Yeah, between the Bengals and the Chiefs. Chiefs are out for revenge here. Some people say, hey, I don't know which side has more to prove. So we're going to dive into a loaded Week 13 NFL slate coming up right after this very quick break. All right, guys, let's dive into a loaded Week 13 slate around the NFL. We already touched on Thursday Night Football, so let's get to the chunky, meaty part of it. And our panel this morning, DraftKings contributor Gary and Thorne, Jeff Ulrich, a lot of Canadian energy here. Let's talk some best bets, your favorite plays here on the DK Sportsbook, starting with...
Yeah, it's time for American football with our Canadian experts.
That's right, baby.
Sunday's early slate of games does offer some interesting matchups, okay? You got the Jets as a 3-point underdog against the Vikings. Commanders, 2.5-point favorite in the Meadowlands, and a 1-point spread between Pittsburgh and Atlanta. So, either of you guys see anything in these early games? What do you think, Jeff?
BCE. We got big Canadian energy up in here today.
Yeah.
Look, I like the Jets to keep that game close, but I think the 3-point spread is accurate. I do like the Commanders there. I said before I wouldn't be shocked if the Giants actually lost out, but I'm going to go, you know where I'm going, Emerson. We're going to go to Baltimore, and we're going to take the Denver Broncos to cover this 8-point spread.
Why?
The Baltimore Ravens, over the last 2 seasons, they're 2-8 ATS covering as home favorites. And you go back even further, it's still a losing record. It's just not a team that's good at covering big spreads. We have a 38.5 point total here, and you're asking the Ravens to cover 8 points. It's too big, like it is. I mean, this is a Ravens offense that scored 13 points against the Panthers. They're going up against a team in Denver who's, again, their secondary is not going to allow any big plays. And again, Baltimore's own secondary here. I mean, if ever Denver is going to get to 20 points, it's probably going to become against the secondary. So like, everybody is out on Russell Wilson for good reason. But, when you get a guy back against the wall here in a spot where he can go out and maybe just embarrass the other side a little bit, I think that's exactly what's going to happen this week. I actually don't hate Denver winning this game outright, and I think they cover at 8 points at the very least.
I mean, Jeff, you're crazy. After Russell Wilson threw a birthday party.
Yeah.
He threw a birthday party.
This is like this is like sextuppling down here.
Jeff, he threw a birthday party and only half the team showed up. His own team is out on him.
That's pretty good outlook. I mean, if half the DraftKings people showed up to my birthday, I wouldn't be upset.
No one's showing. It would be Garion because you guys are neighbors up there.
All right,
You're closer to me than Garion.
Jeff is absolutely losing his mind live on the show.
It's true.
I mean, if you take him to cover the spread, that's one thing. But you're saying you might even take Denver to win outright, which is insane.
Yeah, and this is after yesterday on the slate last night. Like, I brought up this game, the Baltimore-Denver game, before we ended the show, and he whined about it. He's like, I don't want to talk about Denver. What does he do today?
He woke
Talks
up and
about
chose
Denver.
violence.
You're a fraud and a coward.
Garion, are you going to choose violence in your answer to this question?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think this is a pretty tried and true trend of the last decade or so. Just take the Packers to cover against the Bears in Chicago.
Yep.
Green Bay is 18-5 ATS their last 23 games in Chicago, which is a really impressive stat. Aaron Rodgers was already making his media rounds this week talking about how, I'll be fine. I'm going to get to play in my favorite place in the world, Soldier Field, just riling up those Bears fans. But honestly, this isn't about the Packers. They've looked terrible. They've looked pathetic all season long. Aaron Rodgers is clearly hurt. You can add more injury to his midsection now after last week's game. But this is more about the Bears. And while the Mike White narrative of last week is really fun and it's hilarious and we can all laugh at Zach Wilson, that Bears secondary is decimated by injury right now. I don't think anyone, I'd say even like 95% of Chicago couldn't name a single member of the Bears secondary at the moment. This is a defense that allowed 10.6 yards per attempt to Mike White last week. They are 31st in the NFL for the season as a whole, 7.6 yards per opponent pass attempt. I just think Aaron Rodgers and this Packers offense, maybe even a last hurrah, who knows? But I think this is like the vintage Packers win we've seen time and time again. And maybe Rodgers sits down for the rest of the season and Jordan Love can kind of take the last month of the year. But yeah, I just think right now the Bears, and also with Justin Fields, I know there's like some question as to who's even going to start in this game. Trevor Siemian didn't practice yesterday. Justin Fields did. If you're the Bears, you've got a bye week in week 14. I think it makes the most sense to just sit Justin Fields one more week, give him that 3-week recovery cushion. And if you want to play him in week 15, go ahead. But I don't think Justin Fields plays this week. So I really like the Packers here.
So it could be Jordan Love versus Trevor Siemian, or who was the dude?
Nathan Peterman.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's right. Bills legend. But yeah, give me Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon.
Great
over,
Seinfeld character too, Peterman.
He's a grinder.
Yeah.
Gruden grinder.
All right, let's go to the late afternoon window, gentlemen, which offers some pretty intriguing matchups here among division rivals, and you got some playoff hopefuls. So outside of Kansas City and Cincinnati, which we will get to in just a moment, what are you betting on in this second window here? So that would mean games would be Chargers, Raiders, you'd have Seahawks, Rams, and Dolphins, 49ers, Gare Bear.
Yeah, let's go to that Dolphins 49ers game. I think that total is really high. It's 46.5 right now. I really like the under. I understand that the Dolphins have put up 30 points in, I think, 4 consecutive games. This is a different animal when it comes to the 49ers defense, 5th in DVOA this season. They've looked really solid as of late, pitched a shutout against the Saints last weekend. There's some concerning things here with the Dolphins offensive line. Teron Armstead has been maybe this team's most valuable player. And I know to a lot of people it would be like, no, that's Tua or Tyreek Hill. It all falls apart when Armstead is not playing left tackle for the Dolphins. And we saw that as soon as he left that game against the Texans last week, Tua proceeded to take 4 sacks and about 9 dropbacks. And that was against the Texans defensive line. We're talking about a 49ers defensive line with a Bosa brother and with a whole lot of angry dudes lining up. I just think there's going to be a lot of pressure in the backfield for Miami. Conversely, I don't really trust San Francisco's offense all that much. The thing they do best, running the football, Miami's actually been very stout against the run so far this season, particularly running backs running the football. They've been burned by some scrambling quarterbacks, Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson, but Jimmy Garoppolo's not going to burn you that sort of way. And the 49ers are also really banged up. I mean, Eli Mitchell pretty much done for the season at this point. Christian McCaffrey did not practice yesterday. It's unclear if he's going to practice at all this week. Deebo Samuel stretched but didn't practice. There's a lot of injuries on both sides at key positions on these offenses. I think the perception of this game is it's going to be high scoring because the Dolphins have been fun this year, but I really think this could be a slog.
Jeff, we want to talk about a banged-up team, man. How about the Rams, 7-point underdogs at home against Seattle, and they just lost to Aaron Donald. He won't suit up this week.
Yeah, it's an interesting spot. I feel like, with the way the Seattle defense has been playing late, it's a little bit too big a number for me. I'd much rather just go, and I was going to back a road team or a road favorite. I'm going to take the Chargers. Completely fine in this spot. Justin Herbert has had Keenan Allen healthy for about 4 games this year, and lo and behold, he's averaged a 70% completion rate or over 70% completion rate in those games. You look at what the Raiders do. They just don't get pressure. Justin Herbert has a great offensive line. He's going to sit back there and pick apart the Raiders like he always does. It's averaging over 300 yards and 2.6 passing touchdowns in his career against the Raiders. And I think the biggest thing with this game is when you look at it, Josh Jacobs really banged up after touching the ball about 40 times in that last game. He's got a calf strain. He hasn't practiced much at all, if at all, this week. And I think his status is very key for this game. If he can't go, the Chargers defense can have a ton of pressure off it. They've actually been pretty good in the secondary. They haven't allowed a 100-yard receiver since week 1 to Devontae Adams. And if they just don't have to go and help out against that, their offense for their defensive line with Jacobs out, I think it's just going to loosen up the entire Chargers defense. So Jacobs being limited is a big factor here. If he does play, yeah, it's a little concerning, but I think just with the way Herbert has gone against this team, has carved them up, I think they probably win a shootout, kind of like what they did last week against Arizona anyways. It's a 1-point spread. I like the Chargers here. Just not really, I don't think enough people are really looking into this this Josh Jacobs news. Normally we say running backs don't matter, but I think that Josh Jacobs extremely matters with the Raiders. They're averaging 15.5 points when he gets less than 18 carries this year.
All right, guys, real quick, AFC Championship rematch slated for 4:25 p.m. Going to have a lot of interest among the public we have seen so far. KC visiting Cincy feels like a statement game for both sides. What is your play in this one, Jeff?
It's the Bengals, and it's not even close. I love this spot. Why are the Bengals underdogs at home here? You've got Jamar Chase coming back. You've got Joe Burrow playing out of his mind. His offensive line has been extremely good over the last 3 games, allowed an average of 1.7 sacks per game. If they give Joe Burrow time, he tops the league in completion percentage and yards per pass attempt over the last 2 years. I think this is a statement game for the Bengals, who are 5-1 in their last couple stretches. You've got a banged up, wide receiver core for Kansas City as well. Give me the Bengals here. All the money's coming in on the Chiefs. Bengals should not be underdogs in the spot.
Darian.
I agree with Jeff. You've got the Bengals, who are 7-1 ATS their last 8 home games. The Chiefs are 1-5 ATS the last 6 games they've played against a team above 500. It's just surprising with the Bengals getting healthy that, yeah, like Jeff said, the Bengals are getting points at home. I will take those points every single time. So give me Cincinnati.
All right, guys, very quick here on your favorite player prop for Sunday. Jeff.
Yeah, I'm going to go over Justin Herbert props as soon as they come out. Again, I mentioned, just what he's done against the Raiders in his career. But, again, the Chargers defense will give up some yards. But Herbert with Keenan Allen been far more efficient. Raiders get no pressure. Give me the Herbert overs of passing touchdowns and yards this week.
All right, Gare Bear.
It pains me, but I will take under 1.5 touchdown passes for Tua Tagovailoa this weekend at his plus money, plus 110. San Francisco has allowed the fewest passing touchdowns per game of any team in the NFL at 0.8 so far this season. And like I said, if Teron Armstead is not going to play in this game, there's just going to be a lot of pressure on Tua. I don't think that passing offense is going to look as good against San Francisco as it's looked in previous weeks.
All right, good stuff, guys. One more break, one more block to go. We're turning our attention to the NHL next.
All right, we got to dive into this NHL slate tonight before we call it a show. We're going to do just that with NHL.com's Pete Jensen and RotoWire's Paul Bruno. So 11 games on tap tonight. Pete, just real quick, I came across your video there with you-know-who, Jets quarterback Mike White.
Ooh.
Who apparently is a big fantasy hockey guy now. Can you confirm that?
Confirmed. He's a big Florida Panthers fan. He's going to All-Star Weekend this coming season, whether or not the Jets make the Super Bowl. So how funny is that? He's already got his plans booked to go back to Florida. He's from Florida. He's loving every minute of playing fantasy hockey. So check out the podcast episode. We're really excited about it. NHL Fantasy on Ice. And he's a good dude, and he's making noise, right? Even though he was a late round pick in his draft, it's been one of the best stories in the NFL this year.
Yeah, the Mike White hype train is chugging along there in the Big Apple. So let's say, he's watching. Everyone out there is watching right now, needs some help building some money-making lineups tonight. Pete, who would you recommend playing at center?
So I think what Tage Thompson is doing this season is remarkable. He had a breakout season last year. He's among the NHL leaders in shots on goal. He's among the NHL scoring leaders. He's leading the charge for the Buffalo Sabres. I know they have a tough matchup against the Colorado Avalanche, who are coming off of 5-0 shellacking, so the Avs are going to be motivated. But win or lose, this guy has been unbelievable this season, covering categories, DFS season long. I think it's about time we start looking at Tage Thompson with his line mates Jeff Skinner and Alex Tuck, and power play running mate Rasmus Dahlin on the first unit. I mean, this is really a guy that should be viewed as a top 50 overall player, fantasy or reality, in the NHL.
All right, Paul, how much money are you spending at center?
Well, I'll give you a high and a low option. How about that? Jack Eichel for $8,000 against Pittsburgh. They are decimated by the loss of Chris Letang. Eichel's looking like the best version of himself, finally healthy and really rolling along with the rest of his team in Vegas. Should be a mismatch, so spend the $8,000 if you want to go high. If you want to go low, Braden Point against Philadelphia. He has been on fire all season long, and the Flyers have only won once in their last 11 games. Tampa's first-line center against a victimized and injury-riddled Flyers team should be another mismatch, and that only costs $6,100.
All right, take us over to the wing department, Paul. Who do you like here?
Well, the guy who's leading the league in scoring is still not getting a lot of respect in fantasy. The Dallas Stars, Jason Robertson, $7,900. I don't care who he's playing against, but the team that he's facing tonight is Anaheim, and they got a league worst 4.13 goals against average so far this season. So that's got to be a play tonight on a lot of people's minds. Jonathan Huberdeau for $4,600 though is one that attracts my attention as well. Seven of his 12 points on the season, in fact, have come in his last 9 games played. He's better than this season totals to date, folks, and he should continue his recent streak against a very bad Montreal club that's given up 33 goals against in their last 8 hockey games.
All right, Pete, who are you looking at on the wing?
I mean, it's hard not to invest in what Jason Robertson is doing for the Dallas Stars. $7,900 is an incredible price in DraftKings. But if you look further down the list a little bit, I mean, I'm definitely looking at Tyler Toffoli from the Calgary Flames. That team has been disappointing, to say the least, offensively, but he leads them in shots on goal. He's tied for their lead in points. And then also a breath of fresh air of a season for Jamie Benn. A lot of people are talking about him in season-long leagues, but this guy just keeps it up. Had another 2 assists the other day, multi-point games in 3 of his past 4. I mean, we thought Jamie Benn was done as recently as last season, where he was playing third-line minutes and stuff. He's on power play 1 with Robertson and everybody else in that amazing quintet. So you got, of course, him and Heiskanen and Rupe Hintz and Joe Pavelski. So look to Jamie Benn for some revitalized fantasy value playing the wing for Dallas.
Paul, how high up the board are you going to go for defensemen here? 5 guys will cost you at least $7,000.
Well, I'm going to spend a little more than I normally would because I like the profiles of 2 players. Mikhail Sergachev is the trivia answer for who is the leading scorer among defensemen for Tampa. It's been Hedman for years and years, but Sergachev's clicking along at a point-per-game pace year to date, and he's facing that bad Philly club tonight. So it's a case where I would load up on the Lightning players, and you get Sergachev for $6,200. You flip over to Calgary and Montreal. Rasmus Andersson, in fact, is leading point getter, tied with a couple other guys among the forward ranks for Calgary, but he's their top D-man and plays the point on their power play as well. They face Montreal at home, should be an easy win for them, so spending $5,000 on Rasmus Andersson makes a lot of sense to me.
Who do you like on the blue line tonight, Pete?
I wanted to shed some light on what Cam Fowler's doing for the Anaheim Ducks. They've been a bad team so far this year. That's no secret, but the secret is that Cam Fowler has 11 points in his past 8 games, running power play 1 for the Ducks with exposure to Troy Terry, who's been great at even strength through thick and thin this season. Trevor Zegras, of course, little Mason McTavish. Not a bad thing either with that exposure to the great young player. So, yeah, Cam Fowler, it's funny, he's re-emerged. The guy's been playing for the Ducks for like a decade. We thought it was going to be John Klingberg, maybe Kevin Shattenkirk. Of course, Jamie Drysdale's injured. So Cam Fowler providing some hidden value out in Anaheim for the Ducks.
All right, Paul, speaking of value, who are you going to go with for your value play?
Well, Vancouver's Brock Besser's in a good spot for $3,900, playing first-line minutes and scoring more consistently of late after a slow start. He faces a Panthers club that's yielded 33 goals in their last 7 games, so I think there's going to be plenty of offense, and some of it should go Besser's way as the top 6 player here for Vancouver. And I also like Seth Jarvis, priced at $3,500. Collected 4 points in his last 5 games played while logging first-line minutes for the Hurricanes. That's a good spot for him, and I see a high-event game unfolding against the Blues, providing lots of chances to score.
Paul, hit us your value pick.
I'm going with
Pete.
Sean
Sorry,
Monahan.
did I just call you Paul? I'm sorry. Pete, Paul.
No worries.
Yeah.
That's
no
the
worries.
killer
It's
peas, dude.
It's the killer piece.
Peters and Pauls. I get it. No, it's Sean Monahan. He's returning to face the Calgary Flames for the first time since moving in the offseason. Things didn't really end well in Calgary. They got dismissed in the playoffs last year. His role there had diminished compared to when he was the top line center for the team. Now he's playing in Montreal with a little power play exposure to some really good players, Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, dynamic offensive players. And he's been a fixture on the first unit. So for a cheap price in DraftKings, $4,000, the guy's got 5 points in his past 5 games. And I think has been one of the unsung heroes for Montreal, who has been very competitive this season despite not having their goaltender Carey Price at all.
All right, speaking of goaltender, I'm glad you took us there, Pete. Last thing before you guys take off, who do you like in the crease right now? Among dudes we know who will be starting tonight. Andrei Vasilevsky seems to be turning things around. What is he, $7,800?
Yeah, that's a great option. I think that Jake Ottinger is one of the top contenders for the Vezina Trophy this year. Dallas, I didn't even have them in the playoffs at the beginning of the season in my predictions, but they seem like they're really going to be in the mix. And we were talking about all that star power, pardon the pun, on the power play unit. It also carries over to the crease, where Jake Ottinger, I think, is a top 5 goalie when healthy. Missed a little bit of time earlier in the season, but the matchup against Anaheim, even if we're talking about Cam Fowler having a nice performance, I'm pretty sure that, Jake Ottinger is going to seal the deal and get the victory in that game.
Paul, who do you want between the pipes?
Well, you touched on one option. I'll fill in the blanks there on Vasilevsky or Elliott. They suit up against Philadelphia, and I already said stack that game. So $7,800, a very low price tag for the high win probability that you get there. There are 10 more costly opportunities ahead of these guys. I can't believe that. I think that should be a screaming hot value. But the other one that I like is Calgary at home against Montreal. Another easy win for the home side, I think. I know Markstrom's struggled a bit this year, while backup Dan Vladar has been effective in his starts. Doesn't matter which one of them starts. That $7,400 price tag, very inviting.
All right, guys.
That's it.
That's it. That's a show. That's all we have time for. Thank you for being here. The Sweat will be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. Yep. The slate is on today at 5 p.m. But yeah, we'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Yeah, we got to go.